Hey, what's up, y'all? Thank you so much for tuning back into another episode of We the People, episode 2. I hope that you enjoyed our last conversation. But today we're sitting here with some amazing millennials that I call my friend here in the city of Chicago. So today we're going to spend a little time talking about the 3 phases of relationships. How we meet people, how we date people, and then finally, relationships. All right, so I'll allow you guys to introduce yourselves. We can start right over there, and then we'll work our way around.
All right, well, first of all, my name is Rodney Johnson. I was born and raised here in Chicago. I'm currently working in sales downtown for a company called Stericycle.
My name is Raven Smith. I own a tutoring company called Crystal Clear Tutoring. I'm from Chicago as well.
Nope.
I'm CJ House. I'm from Atlanta, and I work in finance.
I'm Jaskia Jones. I am from Dallas, Texas, and I currently work for a nonprofit called Chicago Scholars.
All right, my name is Ibu Oluwa Kembi, but I go by KB because no one can ever say that. I was born in Nigeria, raised in Atlanta, and then moved up to Chicago, worked for Mars in HR.
Nope.
Hey, how y'all doing? I'm Rodney Perry from Jackson, Tennessee. 2 Rodneys. So it's gonna be interesting. But no, I work in logistics here in Chicago, and also a podcaster. Simply King Podcast, my podcast about culture and society.
Nope.
I am Kiana Marshall. I also go by Kiana Alicia. I work for a nonprofit called Urban Gateways in Chicago. And I also am a partner of a small social club called Etc. Social for Millennials. We also have a meeting and event space here in Bronzeville.
That's what's up. And y'all know who I am. I'm Derek. So we're going to spend the rest of the day just getting to know a lot about each other. So before we get started, I asked everyone to bring 2 truths and a lie. I'm really excited to hear these 2 truths and a lie. So what we're going to do is you can read them out, you can say them however you want to, and then we all have to kind of guess which one the lie is. And anyone can get started. And these all have to deal with dating and relationships, by the way. You got it. Go right ahead, CJ.
So the oldest person I dated was 30 years my senior. I've only been in love once, and I want an open relationship.
I think that last one was a lie.
I think the 30 years your senior was a lie.
He might like cougars. I don't know.
Listen, at some point, everybody want to dabble a little bit.
I think it's the last
I would have to agree.
It's the last one.
Yeah. See?
Open relationship. I need to take that down. That may be something we talk about. Cool. All right. Next person.
I'll go ahead. My longest relationship was 6 years. I have 2 children, and I met my fiance on GroupMe.
2 children.
2 children.
I can't answer because I know her.
GroupMe. Okay, that's interesting. Cool. Was it the wave? Was it?
No. It was a different world.
Oh, okay.
ADW for short.
Okay.
I got a story for you.
Okay.
It's very cute. Can I
Y'all
curse?
like really looking real hard at that little
It's
picture.
cute as hell.
Man, she heard me so many times. I gave up until we finally went on like an event together as a group me. And she's like, "Oh, that's Rodney," and I was like, "Yeah."
That's gross.
Right.
Cool.
I'll go next. So I've co-owned a pet with another person. My grandmother has never met one of my significant others, and I've paid for one of my significant others' jail bond.
I think 2 is a lot.
You know what? That
Yes,
just
second
you
one.
have an interesting life.
Because one of those is true.
You know,
Right.
I would have to go with 2.
2 is a lot. Yeah.
I think the last
I
one.
bet the first one's a lie. You've never co-owned with anyone.
I'm hoping the last one was a lie.
No.
So the first one's a lie.
Uh-huh.
I've never co-owned a pet with another person.
Love is real.
See, the thing is, shit reminded me of Jeff because I got in a fight with Domino's dude. That's why I never do it. It's true.
Gotcha. Okay. Cool. Well, I mean, I think that was a really cool way to get the ball rolling. I think you all touched on a lot of interesting things that we'll talk about throughout the rest of the conversation, specifically our GroupMe couple over here. So tell us a little bit about their story, like GroupMe. How did that happen?
You gonna look at me? So when I got out of college, you know, it was all grooming was a thing. I didn't even know at the time. But when I got back to the city, because I went to college, Illinois State, Normal, Illinois, which wasn't far or anything, but you know, I didn't have a lot of connections in the city at the time. And so I had to do a party, so I get added to all these different groupies, and you know, they started to stand and make other groupies. And so one of them happened to be the one she mentioned, ADW, A Different World. So it was a bunch of new people, basically. Someone may lose some people based off of people who add them and things like that, but that was it. You know, it was a bunch of new people again. So of course, guys gonna be guys, which I call it in the city and stuff, trying to holler at different females, get the feel of everything. And so I'm just talking trash and, you know, getting to know people and group me. And, you know, of course I'm shooting my shot, just seeing what was going to go in and what wasn't, you know. You can lose, right? It was like somebody had to bite. And so, you know, eventually people started to link up and go to different events and stuff like that because a lot of people were involved in so much around the city. And so we finally met, and to be honest, I'll let her carry the story off. Yeah.
I don't remember the first time we met. We met at Reggie's, and there were so many people, and I had never been in a group meet, so I was just like, okay, well, this is nice to meet you all. I'm bad with names. I'm bad with faces. Like, I had just gotten off work at 10:30. Like, I was just like, okay, great to meet y'all. And so I didn't remember him. So the next day, we went in group meet, and I don't know what we were talking about, but I must have said something flirty. And he slid in my DMs, like, literally sent a gift sliding into my DMs and said, was that my cue? And I looked at his...
Hey, obviously it worked, y'all.
Right, exactly.
And I looked at his Abby, and his Abby was not the best representation of him. I'm not going to say what it was. I don't want to offend nobody. But it was not the best representation of him. And so I just said, I responded 3 days later. And was like, oh, hey, sorry, I'm really bad with phones. I'm not bad with phones at all. And so we became friends. I started to get to know him more, decided what I saw was not ready for me. And we became friends. And we stayed friends until we weren't friends. And now we're getting married, so.
So when we look at like dating now, oftentimes the first phase of like meeting people, when we think of people our age, just through GroupMe, you mentioned Tinder earlier, and a host of other apps. Who currently, or of course people that are in relationships don't, but think about prior to your relationships. Did you have like profiles like on Tinder or any type of like dating apps or any type of apps?
Definitely.
No.
I had everything.
No.
Everything.
You had everything?
No, actually, I take that back. We all downloaded Soul Swipe as a joke.
We
To
did.
see how many
Yeah.
people in the
Soul
room
Swipe.
were on it. And it was everybody on it. But
I remember, for me, I downloaded Tinder. I was still at school, so I went to DePaul. It's like this small college in Indiana, nowhere. And I remember I downloaded it, but it was weird because you knew everybody on Tinder. So you would swipe and be like, oh my God, we matched. Just keep swiping. And then I instantly deleted it because I was like, that's weird. Because you see those people in interactions, like, yeah.
So has anyone had like a successful date? I don't want to say successful, but actually took it past a swipe and actually met the person, like
I
the
have.
person?
It's funny because I was in y'all hometown.
Okay.
It was this past, what was it, November?
Okay.
I had after my so I did move here for love. Me and that woman are not together anymore. But I do have, I'm in a new relationship now.
Congrats.
Thank you.
I'm blessed.
I'm blessed. You know, but no, essentially I had to be in Dallas for work on location, and so I'm sitting here, I'm single, and I'm like, you know, I'm ready to get out there. Everybody was telling me, like, Rodney, you should get, on Tinder, and got on Tinder, and was swiping, and thought it was pretty strange, because I've always met people in real life, or there was always an introduction, like I knew you from somewhere already, or we had some affiliation. So it was one young lady who I just did not enjoy the experience. So I literally was like finding their Instagrams and like DMing on there instead, because Tinder did not make sense. I was tired of waiting to get a match. Connected with someone, and first date, I was gonna just take her to a bar in downtown Dallas. I think she was from Fort Worth. All of a sudden, I think she flaking on me, and she hits me up. It's like, oh, I'm sorry.
I'm bad with phones.
I'm bad with phones.
That's the hashtag.
She had came and like essentially like suggested for me to come to them place, send me an address, and it was a strip club.
Let's not judge. She's into
No.
type of thing.
She invited me to this thing. Her friend worked there, and I went.
As a dancer?
Her friend was a dancer.
Oh.
So she was supporting her friend. So she's
Yes.
a good friend.
She's a good friend.
Oh no, it was cool. It was very chill, but until it wasn't.
So, what is a typical first date like? What are those locations that are like, I'm trying to like get to know you versus like, I mean, there was no getting to know each other at a space like that. So, like, what's a good first date?
You take them
You
to
get to
the
know
boat.
different sides.
Take them to the boat and watch them gamble.
On the
Because
boat?
all the red flags gonna come up right away. Or an arcade. I'm serious because the competitiveness, you'll see a lot of different things within that person. It doesn't have to be the boat, but something like an arcade. You'll see signs quicker that way.
I can attest to that. Like our first date, it wasn't typical, but it was a long. So our very first date, it was Chicago Scholars. We thank you for it because we got to go to a Cubs game. And so we went to a Cubs game. It was like early in the day, and then after that, he took me to the Chicago Theater because I had never seen it. And so we were there, and then we went to Magley Dating Park. Am I saying it right?
Magnificent Mile.
Oh,
Not Magnificent Mile. Where's the bean at? Millennium Park.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we went there and like walked
Y'all
around,
don't know nothing about
and
this
then
city.
and then we went to the park.
One of the parks.
We went to the park, and like I agree, like the competitive, like we were running around as if we were kids, and like waiting for the kids to get off the slide to like try to, and it showed me that I could have fun with him, and I think from there it was like just good.
So, TJ, you were saying something?
See, I never understand what's a date and what's not. Because we just say, let's go have a drink. And then I'm sitting there like, are we on a date? Are we just hanging out as friends? What's going on? So, I mean, I don't know what a real
I
date
can
is
understand
nowadays.
how that
So, does
can
a
be
date
confusing.
have to be a step, like, when you, so, is a date when you, like, actually say this is a date? Or, like, what is considered a date?
I think it's personal consideration.
Okay.
I don't know what you consider a date.
I think you both have to be on the same page. Like, I'm interested in you, but if you're confused, then maybe you should ask. Just because it could genuinely be a friend date. I go on tons of friend dates. That don't mean that I'm interested in a person. I just know that they're paying for my drinks.
Are they paying though? If it's a friend date, are they paying though?
I have wonderful friends. They pay sometimes I pay.
Oh, yeah.
Interesting.
I think it depends on where you are, because at the time where I was when we started dating, everything was a friend date. It's a friend date until I'm your girlfriend, and then we're dating. And we friends until then, period. I had to learn that based on the dating culture in Chicago. Just, we friends, and that's the way you stay safe, and that's the way you don't, get your feelings caught up, don't get caught in mixed signals, he not in nobody else group me DMs. Like, this is how you ensure that, like, if he is, y'all just friends anyway, okay, and I'm gonna treat you as such, as opposed to, oh, this is a date, so now I have all these expectations of you. No, this is my friend Rodney.
Okay.
Well, not now. Now he's my
I
fiance.
said it.
But our first date was supposed to be a movie night watching Rocky, Netflix and chill, basically. And I decided like an hour beforehand, I texted him like, hey, I got a babysit. I've never babysat myself. I texted him like, I've got a babysit. It just didn't feel right. It just felt like this is gonna be another one of those like situations in Chicago where it's like a situationship. We're kind of fuzzy. I'm tired of it. I'm too grown. And so I canceled it. And then he made me feel so bad. He's like, I got my hair cut for you. Like,
You're tripping.
I found out later that he got his hair cut every Thursday. But it was okay.
He probably told her, and she know how to go up and talk though. Like, I got a thing going on. Really do your thing today. Better than last time.
But we went on our first day the following Saturday, and we went to Batter and Berries, which has a 3-hour wait. So we got to know each other real well on our first date because we had nothing to do but talk and wait for food.
Yeah. And walked around, went to places, found a nice little art place.
Yeah.
Like down there.
So I'm glad we didn't start off with Netflix and chill.
So when we think about not only dating apps, social media is another form of unintended dating app, right? Mm-hmm. There's the whole like DMs and thirst trap photos and how do you let somebody know on social media that you like them without doing too much? Like so on social media, what do you do to like show someone that you are interested?
I like Instagram.
You're about to say exactly
it's called. It's a game. I call it the IG game.
Oh, okay.
So the
so
IG
tell us about
game,
the IG game.
The IG game is basically I like 2 photos. Let's make it 2 rather than 1.
At the same time,
I like
as
2
they
photos.
go back.
Back to back.
But
I'm showing you that I'm going through, so not the last 2. I'm gonna do 1 and maybe 1 about 10 weeks back.
10 weeks?
To let you know.
Oh, that's
To let you know you was looking
I like that.
10 weeks ago. And then you wait on it. It usually take about 5 to 30 minutes. And then they'll come and they'll like pictures too. You don't even have to have a conversation at that point because it's like an unwritten rule.
So
that
who does the message first?
They usually do the message first. They drop the eyes. I usually will drop them back, or I'll put ... to be petty. But it's
I can't.
Also on Instagram, the Instagram stories. So when you go through the stories and have a cute pic or whatever, you can write on it and say.
I do that.
I do that, but you know what? I do it on accident at 4 o'clock in the morning because I be up for no reason, and I'm not trying to holler. It's just funny on your page, and I'm not realizing it's 4 o'clock in the morning.
Oh no!
Yeah.
So
Because at 4 o'clock.
It's
exactly.
like what
Exactly.
Yeah.
Hilarious. So there's a game we're gonna play. It's called Thirst Trap or No.
Okay.
All right. So what I've done is I have gone to everyone's social media page, and I have pulled a photo. So we are going to vote.
I don't
to
have
see
social
if
media.
it's a thirst trap.
Since we live
You
today,
get flags, baby. You get flags.
I'll just
It's
switch
my
my
business.
I'll just clean that up.
I'm gonna pass around a photo, and you were going to tell me if this photo is a thirst trap or no. All right.
Oh Jesus!
I hope you pick a good one.
Well,
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
The top thirst
That's
trap.
the
Like that's
If it is a thirst trap.
like,
All right.
you gotta
oh my
do
pictures
it right.
is nice.
So there's multiple
yeah.
ones, so stay on this first one because I don't want you all to see the next one yet.
Okay,
Alright?
so you're gonna go around.
Yep,
just
so just
kinda-
look at
Why?
the picture.
Oh,
So
God.
thirst trap or no.
Oh, that's a good one.
Can I zoom in? No
Can I-
offense.
Oh!
I took that picture, so zoom in all you want.
Yeah, that's a great photo.
Just make sure, cause y'all men be sneaky.
So,
Oh,
so
you
don't
thought he like.
so don't put
I'll tell
your
you.
don't say your vote yet. We'll wait till
Okay.
everybody sees it.
Well, I mean, nah, that's just a regular picture, to be honest. They just always look like thirst traps.
And some of them are not. Some of them are. We'll see what you think.
First,
Because it's the look away. The look away is a thirst trap.
I mean, you just patch it back.
I genuinely was looking at something.
What were you looking at?
We was in the airport, and I was trying to make sure.
Look at that clock.
Oh yeah.
he was
Alright.
looking for a capture.
Next
Don't
photo.
be petty.
Oh!
Oh, okay.
I can see that picture from over here.
Come on!
Hey, I'm gonna vote now. That's it.
Yeah.
I ain't even got. Yeah.
Hey, yo, sis, yellow looks good on you.
I already know Kizzy. It's always a thirst. Yes. Yes.
All right, next one. Thirst trap or no.
Ah, that's not.
That's
not.
It's cute, but I wouldn't call it a thirst trap.
So thirst trap or no.
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 No thirst
It's
trap.
a lovely
You just
picture. I'm gonna
chilling.
follow you later.
Send me that. Send me.
It's working.
Thirst trap or no.
Oh my
Ah.
God.
Oh, that's
Look at his face.
No.
Thirst trap or no.
No.
Yes.
Yes.
Hell yes.
Yes.
That took like position,
Yeah.
composition,
It was a few drafts of that.
Right, he was a little oily.
and you probably had the Bluetooth clicker down there.
I was killing with this one.
Yeah.
Last one. Thirst trap or no?
Yes.
Why y'all so quiet?
She had about 2 drinks on that
There's
one.
nothing
You
said.
could
You said you can tell she
she had about 2 drinks on that one.
Feeling it. Feeling it.
Yeah, that's that.
Thirst trap or no?
No.
I don't think
Yes.
so.
You don't
Thank
think so?
It's a thirst trap.
For
Cause see, she was trying to give like this, like
this.
You don't know.
She got the
You
arm
don't
up in her-
Like I'm innocent. What am I?
some key terms that we're gonna talk a little bit about. These terms: dating, the term talking, ghosting,
Woo.
and then the most important one. So who paying though? All right.
That's a good one.
The first one, dating. A lot of people use this term dating so loosely. Earlier, Raven, you kind of talked a little bit about like the word dating, but in your mind, what does dating mean?
So I will say I think I struggled a lot because I'm a millennial, but I'm an only child, and if you all have taken the personality test, like I'm an ENFJ person, like I attach to people.
What test is this?
The
Myers-Briggs.
Yeah,
Oh,
there you go.
okay.
And so for me, like dating and talking are one and the same. Like if I'm talking to you, like that's why I said like when I met KB, I deleted his number because I was talking to someone, and it was a situation like we weren't anything, it didn't go anywhere. But in my mind, it was like I don't want to like pursue something else and like that pop off. And so those terms, when I got to college, it blew my mind. Like people that I thought I was dating, it was like, oh, we just friends, and to your point earlier about like understanding that you have to have that mentality to not get hurt, like I struggle with that because I don't live in that realm. And so those terms are still like, to me it's still foreign. Like if I'm talking to somebody, I'm dating them, like you're the only person I'm about to be hitting up, like I don't want to function with like that's not.
It's definitely different. I think it's different person to person. I know for me that I've definitely had conflicts because of the way that I think about dating compared to the person that I feel that I'm dating. Because I'm seeing it as, yes, I'm dating you. I might be only doing these things with you and all these other things, but I'm still asking somebody else out. I'm still doing this. I'm still doing that because why? I'm single. I'm not like literally just leaving everything off because why? We're not together. Right. So it's kind of, for me.
So dating equals together?
No. Now dating doesn't equal together, but me solely being exclusive to you and you're the only one I'm doing all these different things with. That feels more like a relationship to me. Yeah. And I know a lot of people who they feel like dating is when you kind of are like solely doing this specific thing, this specific person, and yes, you're free to do whatever else, but you don't choose to.
Go ahead.
I kind of think people see talking and dating kind of like one and the same, but some people will only talk or date one person at a time, while others will talk or date multiple people at a time. Like my ex was like that, so for that reason I was like, well, I'm only talking to you. If you're gonna sit here and try to talk to other people, I'm gonna go ahead and make us a relationship so you don't have you can't do that. You know what I'm saying? So I think that's how everybody kind of sees it. I'm sure people have like their differences.
I think that we are all sugarcoating it. It's women. Women are the ones that are confused about what is going on because you want something so bad to happen with that situation that you've made up in your mind. I'm dating this person that I'm only going to be paying attention. Like you said, you were talking to somebody. If I'm only talking to somebody, I'm not going to cut off every other man that's looking at me because talking, what does that mean? That means that you're just engaging in a conversation with somebody and you happen to like them. Dating means that you're putting forth some sort of effort and we like each other. We don't mind being seen in public with each other. We want to go out and let's see where this goes from here. Some type of communication has been put there for you guys to say, okay, we're moving forward. And then other people also confuse dating with courting. Just because I'm dating you doesn't mean that I'm courting you. You're just somebody that I happen to be going out with.
I mean, you make like good points, but I think it's not just women. Like come my senior year of college, I got used to the fact of like, oh, I don't want to talk to nobody. Like I just came back from South Korea, so I was just like, I just want to have fun. And it was dudes that I was talking to that I was like, from the get-go, I was like, I don't want anything. And they were pursuing like, well, I'm doing this, I'm doing that, like we're together. So I don't think it's just women. I think it's like you said, like person to person.
Yeah.
I mean, I will say there might be a majority of women that
I
believe
agree.
that, but I do think it's not like a gender thing. I think that.
I think,
Yeah,
I think it's
yeah.
something that just has to be established between the two that's talking, dating, or courting, because they're all separate things. To me personally, I think it's talking, then it's dating, then it's courting. Because like she said, talking, all you're doing is having a conversation. No one even has to know that the other person likes them or whatever. And then you start to date. That's when you're like, okay, now that person should know that you have interest in them. Now again, that's up to you if you want to decide to talk, date multiple people, which some people do and okay, which some people aren't. So at that point, that's when you're saying, okay, we're dating, and then you go to the courting. Now courting, that's when you guys say, okay, now we're not talking to nobody. That's why I say sometimes for me, I think dating, you can date multiple people because you're not sure if you want to move to that next level to make that one person that you want to talk to. So that's when you decide you want to make that one person. That's when you say, okay, we're not just dating, I'm cutting everybody off. Now
I think that confuses people too, because society has planted in your mind, a lot of us think monogamy. So we're thinking we can only talk to or we can only date one person because that's what's right.
Yeah. I think it's easy to exploit that situation. Like if you doing you and you don't know if this other person is in their way kind of being very exclusive with you, it's kind of like you're gonna do what you wanna do, and they over there really holding out for you.
And I think that's when that conversation needs to be had.
Yeah.
But I think it's assumed. It has to be assumed based on my dating experience. It has to be assumed that until we are something, we are nothing. We are friends. And if you don't assume that, then you open yourself up to get that kind of like rejection.
For sure.
Now, when that conversation is had, like I think even with you, like we never had the conversation. It was just like Rodney, my friend, until he not. And then he finally was like, I think I want you to be my girlfriend. And I was like, oh, okay. And then it still didn't happen for 3 months. But at least at that point, I knew his intentions. And I was just like,
So speaking of intentions, when is the right time after you've talked, you've dated, when is the right time to have this "so what are we" conversation? What is this? Because you said a lot about it's about the expectation, but when do you become aligned? When do you have that conversation that puts things into perspective so that you don't have your hopes up, so that you aren't expecting something? Because I feel like that's when no conflict comes into play, when one person thinks one thing and the other person thinks something
I think
else.
when you start checking off all the like relationship boxes, like you've had sex and you're not together, you're going consistent dates and consistently talking, you're not together, and these things are happening, but yet again, no communication has been said. We are quote unquote just talking or dating at this point.
So this needs to happen before all of that.
No, I'm saying that this is what's happening for a lot of people. Is that they're doing all these things. They may consider themselves dating each other. They may be dating other people, but they are doing this mostly with this person. Like you're always spending weekends with them, y'all, and especially y'all get to the point where y'all trying to plan things together. Then it's like, wow, hold up.
So what's going on?
I think it's also.
I think
a
a lot of people get very far into that point before they even have the conversation.
But wait, they get too far into it to the point where the girl has decided one thing and the dude is not on the same page. Like I made a promise to myself. I said I'm not asking him. I don't know who's gonna see this, so not the S word. I'm not asking him anything. Like, when I feel like it's time that we should be in a relationship and we're not, I'ma just disappear. Like, cause talking about it and asking, if you gotta ask, that ain't the one for you. Like, we shouldn't have to talk about it. We shouldn't have to ask. And so I decided I'm not gonna ask him anything. I'm gonna just go with the flow until I'm done with the flow. And then we're gonna see what he's thinking. And literally a day after I was done with the flow, he was like, I think I want you to be my girlfriend. I was like, yeah, okay.
So a lot of what I'm hearing is about communication and being on the same page. In 2018, oftentimes communicating verbally is difficult. And I know that we all have friends who struggle with communicating and saying what they want or what they need or how they feel, but can do it in a text message really quickly, can do it on social media very quickly. How do we have communication in a world or in a society currently that is all about text messaging, 140 characters, texting, tweeting, all these things?
I can speak on that.
Yeah.
When we started dating, and this rooted primarily from my past relationships, I always had to play the guessing game for something I did. Like I couldn't tell what I did, what was wrong, and I had to sit there and play the guessing game. From the jump when I started dating her, talking to her, whatever, I was like, whatever If anything's ever wrong, if anything's ever an issue, we like, oh yeah, I said there's 2 things like all I need from you. Like, be real, tell me what's up, and like don't cheat on me. But that's not part of this conversation. But like, but yeah, it's like, I guess it's kind of like setting it from the start and then being comfortable having those conversations is how I said it. So, and
also being able to take it. I think for me specifically, like, I shut down also. Like, I don't want to talk. Like, if I'm mad, leave me alone. Like, don't come. But for him, it's like I feel, and I was telling him, like, it just feels a little different with him. Like, when I'm mad, I also feel his emotions, and like I want to talk to him. And so then, like, I'm mad sitting on the couch, like, so what's wrong? And I think from there, it's like being able to hear like what you've done, and then like how that made that other person feel, and being able to like receive that and like put that into practice so that you don't make them feel that way again. Because if you truly care about somebody, like, you shouldn't want them to feel like crap, you know?
That's my situation at times too. I think me and my girlfriend, like, I'm extremely expressive. It's like helped me and hurt me throughout my life, because when you like really young and you tell them, you know, like 13, trying to confess your love, 13-year-old, can scare a lot of people away.
Yes.
Especially when you don't even have an understanding of that. And for me and her, it's like she'll do that same thing. Like, when she doesn't like something, or she's questioning something I did, she'll keep it to herself and like bottle it up, and then maybe change her own actions and not even express it outwardly, and then it'll come up again. And I'm like, oh, what this? It's like, what is all this? Like, say something. Like, what's going on? Or if it is like a immediate reaction, like she's upset in that moment, like he says, well, I was like bigging them up, because it's like, no, we need to talk about this. Like, I'm not, we here, we having a good time, we about to get into these crab legs. I ain't about to be upset. You know, like, we don't need to be upset right now. We got a movie list that it's 11 a.m. We got a whole day. And I know whatever this thing is can be worked through, can be figured out. You know what I'm saying? Even if you feel like I've done it, and you know, to hurt you or whatever, let's talk about it. Because I might not even know that was something that was wrong. I might literally didn't see it as something that was wrong and didn't even intend it for it to be that. So, but you got to tell me, like, these things are like, I wasn't pleased when you did this, or I didn't like this, whatever. Because why? We're getting to know each other. We're growing with each other. How can I assume that, oh, you know what, me doing that, or me not hitting you up for this thing and the third, or asking you about this, or talking about that? I don't know that's wrong, because I don't think, if you did it to me, I would be like, okay, cool, babe.
We have to stop thinking that our significant others or other people are psychics.
Yes.
You have to say what's on your mind. Like, people cannot read between the lines. Like, that's just not everybody's strong suit.
So that question number 1, can you not just be nice to people anymore?
No, you can't.
I think people
not
don't know the
now.
I was going to say, I don't want to
difference.
get into the Me Too, but you can, like, man, there are men that I've met that are genuinely afraid to approach women nowadays.
Very true.
Like, at the bar, because you don't want to, like, it's serious. Your face will be plastered everywhere just for harassing somebody. So it's kind of like, I guess at a club or a bar, it might be different, but like if I'm at the grocery store and you approach me, not to say that I'm gonna do it, but another woman could be like, he's harassing me.
Right. And then women just be dubbing you. Like, you might just be giving a compliment. She'd be like, I got a boyfriend. Like, I wasn't even.
You look great.
But part of that is like, you gotta understand how we've been conditioned.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we walk down the street, we step out of our homes, and men just holler at us like we're animals. So you have to understand that we come from a lifetime of dudes trying to talk to us, and we're really not trying to talk, we're just trying to live our lives. Like, y'all are living your lives, and we don't get a chance to do that in peace sometimes.
I'm a gay man, and I guess everyone can't tell what I do, whatever. But I see a single woman, I say, you know, you're very beautiful, and I instantly get like this backlash. I'm like, yo, chill out, you know what I'm saying? I don't even want you. But, you know, I'm gay. Why should you have to say that, yo? I mean, I should have say you're a beautiful woman. Like,
you should.
So this is what you do, especially in the workplace. What you do is, let's say like a man has a haircut or something like that. I'll be like, new haircut, Jeff?
Exactly.
And you let them talk about it rather than saying, oh, I see you got your haircut, so. You don't do that because that can make someone feel uncomfortable. But if you just highlight the area, like in a question form, that allows them to talk about it.
Cool. So, I mean, we've kind of defined dating, talking, Rodney brought in courting. I'm interested about courting. Like, it's kind of a, like,
That's what the old heads
That's what I was gonna say. Like, about like
Code.
What's the code?
Yeah.
Code.
What is that? What's that?
Someone, my
That's
grandma
more
said,
so-
oh, they're courting you.
Figuring out, that's the next step if you want to marry him or not. That's the actual part that I think everybody figure is dating. You know, dating, you know what I'm saying? It's talk if you want to, you know, learn more and continue to learn more. I think courting is when you, okay, I know this person enough where I feel like I want to be with them for.
So that's like exclusive and like
That's when all the bull crap. Ain't no, you know, in text and all these other people. That's when you know for a fact, you know, it's just us two. Ain't no question about it.
I was gonna say, you brought up something, Rodney, about like the love being so strong. I remember a few years ago, I was talking to my grandpa about it. My papa, that's what I call him. But he was telling me like now he sees why relationships don't last so long because you constantly see that person. Like you see them on your social media, you talk to them, you can FaceTime them, you text them. Like you don't get a break.
You have to
And
miss
so
that person.
you constantly feel that person around you, whereas back then, like they loved each other so much because they only saw each other when they came back from work. Like they worked 10 hours a day. They only saw each other when they came back from dinner and when they was going to bed. So
that's
like,
actually 100% real, which makes me think of like how people nowadays can't do long distance relationships. But I think like I said, I was born in Nigeria. My dad moved to the States first, and we waited probably like 6 months to a year before the rest of us moved. My mom, my brother, and myself. So for a year, they didn't see each other, and nowadays people would not be able to do that.
I
So,
think that a
I think
long
they're beneficial.
distance. I think that it fits my lifestyle. Like
You
I'm
can space.
being so serious because the things that I like to do, I don't need you to be right here in order for
That's
me to
right.
know that you care about me.
Yes.
All of that, going to the movies and stuff, I can go to the movies by myself. You know what I'm saying? Of course, at night you might be a little lonely, but there are ways to get around that. Did I see that?
Amen.
But I feel like it fits certain people's lifestyles. If you need someone up on top of you all the time, that's not for you. But as far as getting to know someone from long distance and actually missing them, like when you see somebody you ain't seen in months, child, let me tell you something.
I also was reading.
Your head does that.
So as millennials, statistics show us that we are the most educated generation. We are the most driven generation. We are very career focused. And oftentimes we are convinced that we need to be single in order to focus and achieve our goals. Right? But there are so many great examples of individuals who are solid partnerships, work together in their relationships to achieve their separate goals and then also relationship goals. So what is your reaction to that? Do you feel that in order to achieve, to be great, to move up in life, you have to be single? Or what is it that the person has to have in order for you all to truly be a partnership and like make stuff happen on your own, but also be together?
I personally don't think you have to be single. Just because if you find somebody who has like the same vision as you or like somewhat of a similar vision, like I have certain endeavors that I want to do, and I've told her about them, and she's like, "Oh, I actually want to like help you with that or do something with you like with that." So it's like I think if you find somebody who might have that same vision as you or is a good support, then like you're good. Like you don't have to be single or like single focused.
So what early on, I'm sorry, Jessica, what early on in you all's dating, talking, whatever, allowed you to see that like she was also driven? Or that
Those same exact conversations, because that was that I wouldn't say it was earlier on. It was like about midway, and I'd be like, "Hey, I'm interested in doing this," or like just general conversation, and that's when she'd be like, "Oh, okay, I had that interest too," or like, "Oh, that's actually kind of dope. I might try and help you with that," or like different things like that.
I think also like as millennials, I also like we get this thought in our head like I gotta grind by myself to make it, and you don't have to be like that. Like it actually helps you progress more if you have somebody supporting you. And I think with KB, like something that I'm very grateful of, like my next step is grad school for me, and he constantly is asking me like, so what are you thinking about? Like, what areas are you thinking about? Like, have you started, like, I told him, like, I started the first step of narrowing down a handful of schools. Like, that's my first step. And then based on programs and everything, he's like, okay, have you done your second step yet? And it's not like every day or every week, but it's just frequent enough for me to be like, oh, okay. Like, he's bought me a journal so that I can, like, write down notes and stuff. Like, he's taking that step, and the same for him. Like, when he's telling me, like, he wants to do things, like, in DEI and stuff like that, it's like, oh, okay, well, like, these are the programs I hear wherever, like he's telling me about these trainings and I don't know what he's talking about, but I'm gonna listen and I'm gonna, you know, talk to him about like help him flesh that idea out. And I think that is something that's more helpful than if I was just going through this by myself or he was just going through this by himself. You wouldn't, because you don't have that person on your back, like not on your back making you tired, but on your back like helping you keep going. Like I think that is something.
I just want to piggyback off of what Rodney and Raven said. It doesn't even have to be support. Like it could be support in the sense of I'm gonna get out your way and give you the space to do it. So like it doesn't even have to be support. Like, hey, what do you need? What do you like? Do you just want me to step back while you go take care of this? That kind of thing.
So I just want to speak up as the single person on the couch.
All right.
So, I just want to say, me personally and the people that I know, that we aren't always just single because we're career oriented or we're thinking about our careers. For me personally, I was in a long relationship in the early part of my 20s. Now, when you're in the early part of your 20s, that's a different person when you're at the end of your 20s. The person that I was in a relationship, I don't know who that person is. The person I am now, I'm still getting to know myself. So I feel that I can't enter a relationship until I'm at a good space where I want to let someone else in. Because there are still things that I'm dealing with as a person that I don't want to put on someone else.
Yeah.
So as far as my career, as far as mental health, you know what I'm saying? There are different things going on with me that I don't want to be perfect for someone else, but I want to be at a good space where I can let them in and that I can be supportive to them and then be receptive to what they're giving me.
Yeah. Thank you guys so much for tuning in to this episode. We talked all about dating and relationships. As you guys can see, millennials, just as anyone else, have so many nuances to their relationships, whether it's with friends, whether it's with family, or significant others. This, as Jaskia said, was just a scratch of the surface, but I hope that this shed a little light on some of the things that we as millennials face as we are looking for Mr. and Mrs. Right out there. So make sure that you follow us on social media at Be Hopeful People and check out our website at www.behopefulpeople.com. Thank you so much for tuning in. Peace.